Dmitry Peskov has responded to Volodymyr Zelensky's proposal to hold a trilateral meeting between Ukraine, Russia and the United States in Azerbaijan. During his visit to Baku, Zelensky said he was ready for such a format, but stressed that Moscow would also need to be ready. Moscow's answer was dry and predictable. Azerbaijan is not currently being considered as a venue for negotiations. The Kremlin's position remains the same. A meeting at the highest level, it says, is possible only to finalize concrete agreements. In other words, everything must be decided first, and only then Putin may agree. Since the beginning of 2026, the sides have held 3 rounds of consultations. The latest took place in Geneva in mid-February. After that, the process stalled, partially because of the escalation in the Middle East. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov also says Vladimir Putin did not invite Donald Trump to Moscow for the May 9 Victory Day parade. The question came after Putin and Trump held a phone call. When Peskov was asked whether the Russian leader had invited the US president to the parade, his answer was no. And let's be honest, it's hard to believe that Kremlin would not have wanted Trump in Moscow for May 9. That would have been a propaganda gift for Putin. Most likely, the invitation was either floated quietly or understood without being said, and Trump simply did not come. Earlier, Trump said he has proposed that Putin announce a ceasefire. According to Putin's aide Yuri Ushakov, Putin told Trump he was ready to suspend hostilities with Ukraine for Victory Day.
For now, we are assuming this concerns Victory Day. However, the exact hours when this ceasefire would begin and end will be announced and decided by the Supreme Commander-in-Chief. For now, no concrete decision has been made. As for the Kiev regime, we have not yet heard any reaction.
Backbone is under pressure again. After Tuapse and Samara, now Perm has joined the list. Ukrainian drones reportedly hit a major oil facility more than 1,500 kilometers from Ukraine. Black smoke covered the city in the middle of the day. Schools were evacuated. Locals filmed what looked like a nightfall in a broad daylight. According to Ukrainian sources, the target was the Perm oil pumping and dispatch station, part of Russia's Transneft system. This is not just another refinery. It is a transit hub, one of the points that helps move Russian oil through the pipeline network towards refineries and export routes. And this is what makes the strike so painful for Moscow. Ukraine is not only hitting separate oil plants, it is going after the system, storage tanks, pumping stations, refineries, sea terminals, and the routes that feed Russia's oil exports. In April alone, Tuapse, Samara, Perm, Orsk, Syzran, and other sites were hit or disrupted. The pattern is no longer accidental. Ukraine is trying to damage the infrastructure that helps Russia turn oil into money and money into war.
Disrupting these hubs does not mean only a local problem. It creates imbalance across the whole system, forcing Russia to redirect flows through other routes or reduce pipeline loads. And this affects not only exports, but also domestic fuel supply, from civilian transport to military logistics. We are seeing a systematic and precise approach to these strikes, and the logic is clear.
Ukraine no longer reacts to Trump-Putin phone calls with the same anxiety as before, the New York Times writes. In the past, every such conversation put Kyiv on edge. There was always the fear that Ukraine could be discussed without Ukraine and that presented with a done deal. Now the reaction is different, more of a tired shrug. There have been many similar calls over the past year. They have not brought real peace any closer. So Ukrainians have stopped attaching big fears or big hopes to them. Meanwhile, Ukraine is relying less on phone diplomacy. Kyiv is expanding its own weapons production, receiving new European funding, and continuing strikes on Russia's oil infrastructure.
Ukraine's relative indifference to the Trump-Putin call has a simple explanation, Ukrainian officials and analysts said. After more than a year of similar conversations that failed to move the needle in peace talks, Ukrainians have stopped pinning their fears, or, in some cases, their hopes, on them.
Russia is celebrating too early. Yes, the war around Iran has temporarily pushed oil prices up, and Moscow is trying to present this as a major win. More expensive energy means more money for the budget and more room to cover military spending. At first glance, the Kremlin got a gift, but as Breaking Defense writes, this is a short-term story, not a strategic victory. Once the fighting calms down, oil prices could again return to levels that are uncomfortable for Russia. The Russian economy remains undiversified. Europe is not lifting its sanctions, and Russian tankers are still under pressure. And Ukrainian strikes on refineries and energy infrastructure continue to hurt Moscow's ability to sell oil and gas. At the same time, Russia's support for Iran has also damaged Russia itself. The Kremlin has provided Tehran with targeting data, drones, and political solidarity. For the Gulf monarchies, this is a telling story that Moscow stands next to forces that threaten regional stability.
In contrast, Ukraine has turned a challenge into a triumph. President Volodymyr Zelensky's whirlwind trip to the Middle East in March has led to defense agreements with the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. Even the portion of the deals that is publicly known is impressive. Ukraine secured decade-long agreements that involve Kiev exchanging its war-fighting know-how for energy shipments, financial aid, and missile interceptors. Ukraine is also pursuing 3 similar agreements with Bahrain, Oman, and Kuwait. Concerns about the Iran conflict preventing the transfer of American interceptors to Ukraine pose a risk to Ukraine's security today. Still, domestic firms are already developing robust air defenses, including an alternative to the Patriot system.
Ukraine says it could complete most of the EU accession talks within the next 12 to 18 months. Deputy Prime Minister for European Integration Taras Kachka said that after that, Ukraine hopes to sign a membership agreement with the European Union as early as 2027. He explained that Ukraine has already done a lot of technical work, even despite political delays last year. According to him, the EU has set around 145 requirements. Most of them are about aligning Ukrainian laws and institutions with the European standards. Kachka says these requirements are realistic and can be completed within the next year to year and a half. Ukraine is now working across all 6 negotiation clusters, and the official opening of these talks is expected in July. However, even after signing a membership agreement, the process will take more time. The deal must be approved by all EU member states and Ukraine, which can take several years. The entire international jury of the 61st Venice Biennale has resigned over the organizers' decision to allow Russia to take part in the exhibition. Russia had not been there since 2022 after the start of the full-scale invasion, but now organizers decided to bring it back. And that caused a major scandal because this is about a country waging war, deporting Ukrainian children, and a dictator, Putin, who is wanted by the International Criminal Court. The jury refused to work with the countries whose leaders are accused of international crimes. The list includes Russia and Israel. After that, the entire jury stepped down. The scandal has gone far beyond the art world. Italy's culture minister said he would boycott the opening and ordered a review of whether Russia's participation violates sanctions. The European Commission also decided to cut funding for the Biennale over the decision to admit Russian artists. And after the jury resigned, the organizers changed the format. Now apparently the winners will be chosen by visitors themselves. That's all for now. For more content about the world and Ukraine, please subscribe.